All right, how's it going, guys? We're
Going
back at it
good.
on knocking around. I've got Matty Knips here from Underdog. What's up, Matty?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. And introducing Gideon Sutherland. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay.
Good, good. Yeah, we're here tonight to talk about something that a very small undercurrent, but steadily growing U.S. fan base wanting to know about the young guys, the U20s, the up and coming. We know several names. Gideon and the David Kerrs of the world know a lot more names. So connecting with Gideon tonight to talk about that. Matty, you wanna set this up?
Yeah, man. So just looking through your top 50, I can't admit that I knew all 50 names when I first saw it, recently, which is great, which is exciting to see. But kind of first tell us how we came up with this of these specific 50, like not only looking at potential or current, but also tell us kind of what specific years we were looking at due to what cycle we're in. So yeah, kind of tell us a little more about that, Gideon, and how you kind of came up with the top 50 this way.
Yeah. So the people that I put together, like the people I worked with this all across the board, creating this list with, we looked at potential and current ability and where they're at. I feel like when you look at the list, you can see like, oh, the younger guys who have really high potential, and then also some guys who have proven their ability, like Ricardo Pepi, who's number one on the list. Sneak peek of that, but Ricardo Pepi is number one, who may have been lower on this list a year ago, but over the past year has obviously vaulted up boards due to his performances. So you'll see guys who a lot of you don't know who are going to be higher up, and that's going to be surprising for some of you, but it's truly a combination of ability and potential analysis plus what they've done on the stage. We're specifically looking at O3s, the O3s, because that's going to be the next under 20 cycle. So players like Joe Scally were excluded, even though he missed it by a day. Gio Reyna, of course, Yunus Musa, Busio, very talented players who would probably be at the top of this list. Solely because we're trying to introduce the USMNT community to younger guys who are the 06s, the 05s, even some 07s. And then also we're preparing the US community to know that what the potential under 20 roster could look like.
Absolutely.
I was pretty shocked to see a couple of 07s on there, not going to lie. I pretty surprised.
I had to, they had to hold me back from putting an 08 and an 09 on the list. So.
Wow.
It's exciting. It's exciting. I've heard a lot of people talking about that. I think there was a tweet yesterday about, how young the US talent is, and, others pushing back saying, well, in other countries, there's good young talent, but they also have the senior talent that's pushing them back. And I feel like that's about to happen, right? Like all this, Christian
the
Pulisic
transition's about to be made.
Absolutely. The next generation, the next Reynas, the next Pulisic are right in the assembly line, kind of to push those guys at the next level. It's exciting.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, before we jump into the top 50, any shouts to guys that were on the bubble? I know it's always hard when you get to like 47, 48, 49, to figure out at that point, a couple shouts to some guys off the list.
For sure. You have the Leal brothers, who are very talented, and they're playing for Venezia's academy. They've been in Europe for years now, playing for Sporting, and just moved to the Venezia academy. And from what I've heard, and the highlights I've seen, they're tearing it up along with another youth American product, Jack DeVries. I would not be surprised if they get promoted to the Venezia senior team sometime in the next couple years. They're both talented. Another name that could have been on this list is there's quite a few center backs. I don't know if we put Kobe Henry on this list, but if we didn't put Kobe Henry on this list, he is obviously extremely talented. He's just got his first USMNT call-up for December camp. So, and he's a name that surprised a lot, and I expect him to go back to his home club, which is Inter Miami, and potentially even break through for a roster spot.
That's cool. Any dual nets that you left off because they may have committed that people would be surprised, may not know that they've committed to another country, or others that could drop off that are dual nets on this list?
Yeah, for sure. Brian Oko is a big one. He was originally going to be in our top 10, and the news came out that he accepted a Switzerland call up to World Cup qualifying. He has not been captied because he tore his ACL, which is awful, and we pray for speedy recovery, of course, for that injury. But he is an extremely talented center back. He can play left center back, right center back, across the board. And it looks like he will continue on with Switzerland, but in Greg we trust, right? When it comes to dual national recruitment, he has a pretty good track record so far, in my opinion. So Brian Oko, and then another player that could switch is definitely Fede Olivier. I know he's being heavily like pursued by Argentina. They want him. He's an extremely talented. He's at Atletico Madrid. And then a younger guy that not a lot of people know is Valentin Yotov. I don't know if he will or not. I don't know where he stands currently, but he's a dual net that's playing for Bayern Munich. He's an attacking mid and winger. He's an 06, I think.
Cool. And of course, we know this guy.
Oh, of course, Jonathan Gomez. He's definitely still in limbo. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Hopefully he got a good time with Pepe and Paredes and Justin Che this past week, and look forward to seeing him.
And Nyman was there too.
That's right. Yeah, in camp.
Gideon, there was one other name that I don't think I saw in the top 50, and I guess it was an omission, just a kind of a more popular name, but Natty Clark.
So Natty Clark, yeah, that's a pretty big omission because last year, I'm pretty sure in last year's list, he might have been top 10, if I remember correctly.
He was up pretty high, I remember that.
He was pretty high. COVID hit youth prospects hard, especially the 05-04 group. It's one of COVID, a lot of players that we thought were going locks to be really good pro level players. They're sort of stuck in a rut. They haven't really developed. Natty Clark is an extremely talented player, of course, technically. And I still have hope that potentially he could be a star because he has shown ability, of course. But he's one of those players who's definitely fallen off due to the COVID times. That SKC Academy in general has taken a massive hit. Some of its top prospects aren't even playing football anymore. So
wow, that's wild. Yeah, I didn't know that. Should we get into the top 50 already? Roll.
Yep, I'm ready to roll.
All right. Let's start with quote unquote Mr. Irrelevant, not in this case, but Brandon Craig, 2004 center back at Philly Union. We've got Cruz Medina, a 2006 center mid at San Jose Earthquakes. 48, Michael Halliday, 2003 right back at Orlando. 47 is Brian Alanis, 2006 left back at Houston Dynamo. And Sergei Nagoma, 2005 winger from the New York Red Bulls. Do want to give Brandon a shout. I saw he made the Union roster for their playoff match. They unfortunately lost, but he's been on the show before. Just a little shout to him for making the roster. I know he's on the bubble. But Gideon, anybody off that list of five that jump out at you that you think people should know?
I think we should focus on Brandon Craig personally. I think he is a player that has a ton of potential, and seeing where the USMNT pool is currently with our center backs, I think if he can develop physically, technically over these next few years, he could break through. I think he's a player that is coming up in a system that relies more on technical ability, which is very good for development and what we need out of our center backs currently. A ball playing center back is very important to how Greg Berhalter wants to play the game. He wants to play possession based, so we need center backs who can play that. He made roster. He's an 04. He's 2004, so that means he's only 16, 17, making roster for a playoff game, which is a big deal. And yes, Philly has their COVID concerns currently, but I think over the next year, if he could break through for Philly, maybe start getting some minutes, that would be massive.
Yeah, he's got a UK passport, if I remember right. I think his dad's English,
Yep.
and he went over and played with Liverpool for a bit. He trained with them. So, I mean, he's definitely been on the radar. I think he had a big growth spurt and, still kind of
Yeah,
growing into his body. I mean, he's 17 years old, and
he's
COVID
got
hit.
time, and that's
Yeah.
that's one of the nice things about center backs is they are on a later development curve than everybody else. So I wouldn't write any center back off at this stage. Even ones that we haven't, like even Natty Clark, of course, who's even younger, 2 years younger. He can play all across the back line. Don't write any defender off till later on in their career.
All right. So 45, Jalen Neal, 2003 center back from LA Galaxy. 44, Brian Gutierrez, 2003 attacking mid from Chicago Fire. 43, Cole Campbell, 2006 winger from, one second, Fimlika Fahlag Harfnafharara.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to challenge you on that pronunciation.
I listened to it like 23 times on Google Translate, or it was reciting it back to me, and that's the best I could do. Anyway, 42, Kale Avre, 2004 winger from Lille, and 41, Felipe Valencia, 2005 winger from Inter Miami.
So I actually think this is a range where all of these players are very important and could make big jumps. I could see a lot of them jumping up into the top 25, potentially. Jalen Neal's a ball-playing center back out of LA Galaxy. I think he could break through over the next year. He's an 03. Then you have Avre, who's Avre is one to look out for. He's a dual neck. He can play for France. I think he has accepted France call-up recently for their one of their youth camps, and he's over in Lille. So hopefully that Timo Weah influence is getting to him, and we can land him. Felipe Valencia, very talented winger out of Inter Miami. And then who was the other name on that list?
Brian Gutierrez was 44.
Brian Gutierrez, who played very well for the Revelations Cup. He was one of my surprise players. He looked very fluid, and I think he gets even more minutes for Chicago next year, which is going to be very fun to see. And I think he could be potentially off to Europe within the next 2 years. So,
is Cole Campbell another dual net as well?
I think so.
2006 and playing in Iceland, I would assume almost.
I think he has to be right to be over there.
I think he is a dual net, unless his dad has a job or mom has a job over in Iceland, which that sounds weird to me. But he's also very talented. 06. He's a winger who can also play striker, which is important for the 06 class.
Is that Avre? He's in the academy for Lille.
For Lille, yeah. He's
Okay.
in the academy for Lille currently. We'll see if he can break through. That'll be interesting. I'm fairly certain Lille rate him quite highly. He's a very talented player.
Cool. All right, let's keep it rolling. Where are we at? Number 40. Nathan Worth, 2007 center mid at the New York Red Bulls. Aaron Hurd, 2006 center mid, St. Louis City FC. Jude Wellings, 2006 center mid from Real Salt Lake. Evan Rotundo, 2004 attacking mid, Schalke 04. And then Danny Leyva, 2003 defensive mid from Seattle Sounders. Evan Rotundo is a name that's been on this list for a little bit. Give us an update on him and how's he holding up over there?
So last time I checked Evans, like how he's doing. He had scored that day, so that was pretty bright. He's still playing the under-19s, which is his age group. So that is a bit concerning to me. He's a small, undersized. He's not that big. This year is very telling for his development. If he can start getting minutes with the first team this year, next year, this season, next season, that's good. If he does it, I think we should start being a bit worried about Rotundo. Another name, a few other names. A lot of 06s. They're all center mids on this list. They're all very talented. I think they're high ceiling players. One that I'm gonna shout out is Aaron Hurd, and specifically, he's going to be at the new St. Louis Academy, and he already has a pre-contract with Bayer Leverkusen. So I'll be on the lookout for that.
That's cool. And Rotundo, remind me. I think he was bagging some goals and getting some assists. I think he was doing pretty well with the U19s. I know the physical piece of it and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like his main concern is the concern that I have with Marcelo Flores. Is he's a tiny guy who might not be able to compete at the highest level when you get into the men's game, but his technical ability is there. He's amazing on the ball. He has an eye for goal. His football IQ is through the roof. It's just translating that to a bigger, stronger league.
Very cool. Go ahead, Matty.
All right, 35, Diego Luna, 2003 winger from FC Locomotive. 34, Diego Rocio, 2007 striker from Philly Union. Number 33 is Valentin Yotov, 2006 winger from Bayern Munich. 32 is Sergio Origel. 2005 attacking mids, Chicago Fire. How do you say it again?
Orejo.
All right, that was closer. I'm
second fairly certain that's how it is.
Yeah.
Don't call me out.
And 31, Gavin Turner, 2007 attacking mid from DC United.
Yep. First name that jumps off that in the list is the first one you mentioned, Diego Luna. Today it was announced he's been trialing over in Europe for the past few weeks, which is amazing news. He's a name that's vaulted up this list already for me, probably since I made it a month ago with his performance in Revelations Cup. He is also a dual net, so that's something to be on the lookout. I wouldn't be so scared about losing him, as he did kiss the USMNT badge in front of Mexico fans, but you never know. You never know. He trialed the other day with Liga NOS club, and then he's trying to. He posted a picture today at Anderlecht in the Belgium League, which that would be an amazing move for him. He's currently playing in USL, and he was second in USL Young Player of the Year votes. Young Player of the Year, only behind Jonathan Gomez, who, as we said, is already going to Real Sociedad. Stuff like that, which is exciting things. Some other players that Valentin Yotov, he's a dual net. He's an 06. He's at Bayern. I've heard a whole lot of good things about Yotov. He's a winger who can also play cam, which is something that we have a lot of. So long way up to go. But if he's as talented as I'm hearing, he has a potential to break through. And then Danny Leyva, who's been a name in a lot of USMNT fans' mouths the past couple years. I think we're starting to see some of his limitations. He's still a very talented player, obviously, but his physical limitations, his speed, and that was demonstrated in the Revelations Cup. He just couldn't keep up with the play. So we'll have to see as he progresses over the next 2 or 3 years, see if he can start getting minutes with Seattle Sounders more regularly, and we'll just have to see how he develops now, what happens with him.
He's got some competition higher up on this list, right?
He has quite a bit of competition, in my opinion. I don't for that under 20 World Cup. I don't know if he will be the starting six. I feel like even Julian Edelman performed very well at Revelations Cup, so that's also an interesting name to throw in at that sixth spot.
I was just going to ask before we move on, like, what are the future chances for more USL young guys getting signed for contracts over in Europe? Because, it's happened with Jogo, and has it happened with anyone else yet? I know there's
KO was on OC for like 3 weeks, and then COVID hit, and then he moved.
Right.
There's been maybe 3 or 4 total. I can't remember the others. Yeah.
I mean, as you see, I think it's becoming a pathway, because there's USL clubs are trying to draw people in, and a great way to draw people in is youth talent and the development of youth talent. If USMNT fans know, oh, look at this kid, we know him, like Jonathan Gomez, like Diego Luna. I think that's a thing. And like you're already seeing, Diego Luna is going to trial. Jose Gallegos trialed last year with Bayern Munich and Barcelona. So I feel like there's definitely an opportunity to make the jump from USL to Europe. And I think it's the more USL develops and the higher quality in league it becomes, the better the better option it is. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if a few names higher on the list take a USL route themselves.
I think that's extremely exciting if you think about that, like having our second tier league being a pathway to Europe, and then you add, now we're getting to 30 MLS team clubs, that many cities, and then you double that with USL or
And
triple that with city
and then
coverage.
With the news of, and then with the news of MLS, the MLS second league today, which will be in another 20 cities that haven't been that aren't MLS clubs. So that's even more exciting. It's just
I hadn't even heard about that.
Yeah, it broke today. So I don't blame you.
Huh. Yeah, that's kind of interesting with the USL. Like, I could almost see, I guess with the newly added that I just learned about, MLS second league, maybe not, but you could almost see USL in a few years from now, 10 years from now, kind of overtaking that position of, that's their main role is shipping players off to Europe and doing it more so than MLS does, with MLS catering towards the older crowd of players.
I think that's fair. I think the main competition with that is that, it's like the truly good players are going to be scouted by the clubs with the most money, and with how USL clubs, other than maybe Louisville, can't really compete with any MLS club in that regards. So when you look at it like that, I think that there's still going to be competition, and I think the best players, for the most part, Jonathan Gomez is already an exception to what I'm about to say, are going to be coming from MLS, and then you'll see some good players with decent potential also coming out of USL that are going to be heading to Europe too. But it's a fascinating route, especially for kids who live in smaller cities who don't necessarily want to move. I mean, you see that all the time.
What I would guess is that potentially USL would be a factory for MLS. Like they may be the early years development and scouting in cities that MLS isn't, and then them rising and probably getting bought by an MLS club, but being a feeder, and then having 20 or 30 additional cities that we're finding talent from beyond MLS's walls.
For sure, it's very exciting times.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, we're getting to 30, and we've already mentioned Bayern Munich, Lille, and some others not making that. I just think that's wild to kind of just think about the back half of this list as being scouted, and some guys that didn't make this list or were on the bubble getting scouted. It's an exciting time as a U.S. fan. So number 30, another one of my guys, Tony Leone, 2004 center back, LAFC. Is it Javin Romero?
Javin Romero, yep.
2006. Center back, LAFC as well. Oliva, that you mentioned already, the 2004 winger over at Atletico Madrid. Kristen Fletcher, 2005 winger at Bethesda SC. And then Mauricio Cuevas, 2003 right back. He's currently unattached. He's not with the club currently.
He is not with the club. Tony Leone, that's a name that he is, I think, at high risk of going to Mexico, if not already a done deal. I think Tony Leone, he hasn't obviously been captain. He's only been playing for their youth camps, but it's looking like he's most likely gone. And he's an extremely talented center back. He's a big loss, in my opinion, because our depth is pretty limited right there for right now when you're talking under 20s. And then you look at some of the other players on that list, Fede Olivier potentially going. Who is the last name you mentioned?
Cuevas. Yeah.
Cuevas. We don't even know what's going on with Cuevas right now. There's no clue. He's also doing that. So
he was with LAG too, right? He was playing some USL.
Yeah, he was with LA Galaxy, and then he wanted to go to Europe. And just this past year, it's been a mess. He didn't sign a new contract and stuff like that. We'll see. He's training daily, I know that, but game time is everything at that age. So he's an extremely talented right back, and probably would be higher if he wasn't without a club this past year. We just don't know.
His agent is Cleveland. Yeah.
Yep. His agent's Cleveland. So running theme of LA guys with Cleveland, and not necessarily the best things happening, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. I heard Tony's still on the fence. I don't know if he's completely sold. I think he had an opportunity to go to either camp. He's been wearing the captain's band with the Mexico youth national team, but I don't know if that's locks him in for the senior team. I think he's connecting with guys and getting where that captain's
He's still a young
armband.
guy, tons
Very
of
young.
time.
Yeah.
All right, want to go into 25?
Yeah.
Matthew Schenfeld, 2006 right back from FC Cincinnati.
Let's
24
go.
is Bajing Darbo, 2006 winger from Philly Union. Number 23 is Brooklyn Reigns, 2005 defensive mid from FC Locomotive. Number 22 is Zach Booth, 2004 center mid from Leicester. And number 21, Moses Nyman, 2003 center mid from DC United.
All these names are big in my opinion. They're all extremely talented. Schenfeld is a right back who can also play CDM, from what I'm hearing. And he's very talented. He's FC Cincinnati's best prospect right now. By a long shot.
That's probably the first Cincinnati player, youth prospect I've heard of, I guess.
Schenfeld is very talented. He's a very talented right back. I can't wait to see what he does. Then you have going to Darbo. Extreme, probably the best pure winger in my opinion of the 06 class. And then, but what he doesn't really fit the Philly system, which is the most concerning thing about him, because Philly likes to play with inverted wingers and 10s and stuff like that. So that's why you'll see one of his other teammates higher up on this list. But Darbo is an extremely talented player, just everything you want. Physically, and especially if he can physically develop over the next few years, sky's the limit. Then you had Nyman, of course.
Brooklyn Reigns, Zach Booth, Moses Nyman.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Reigns, Zach Booth, Moses Nyman. All extremely talented midfielders. Nyman, our biggest worry, of course, is his size and can he translate to the next level, right? And I feel like we'll get to see that if he can truly do it over this next season in MLS. And if he can finally, like, once he starts getting more minutes, I think his talent could be on full display. And then Brooklyn Reigns is another USL guy, an extremely talented USL guy. I think he's most likely going to be leaving FC Locomotive. And we'll see where he goes. But he is very talented center mid. He came out of the Barca Academy in Arizona.
Yeah, same as Caden and Matthew Hoppy and several of our most talented US guys.
And Luna, yeah. And then you have Zach Booth, who's obviously the younger brother of Taylor Booth. He's been dealing with an injury, I'm pretty sure it's an ACL over this past year. So he hasn't been in action for a bit, but he's very talented from what I'm hearing from a lot of scouts. A great center mid in that 04 class, one of the top prospects in that 04 class.
Very cool. We're getting to top 20. Jack McGlynn, number 20, 2003, center mid at the Union. You're going to hear the Union a lot the rest of the way out. 19, Dante Sealy, 2003 winger from the other guys, FC Dallas. We've
PSV now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Quinn Sullivan, 2004, attacking mid, Union. CJ Olney, 2006, attacking mid, Union. And then Bento Estrella, 2006, center mid at New York Red Bulls. I forgot about Sealy switching. I didn't update that. Yeah, tell us about these guys.
I've never even heard of Bento Estrella.
Oh, let me tell you about Bento Estrella. He's one of my he's probably my favorite player in the entire class. He's 15. He is a dual net as well. He's Portuguese American. And he is a beast. He is at the age of 15 as a center mid, he's already like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". Because he's growing so much, he's had some injury problems this past year. Hasn't been able to really stay healthy. But he's not a player that relies on his strength and size. He's a very technical player, which is insane. And it's truly a monument to how we're focusing on those things in our academies currently. He's a player that doesn't rely on those things and is still very technical. He did recently get a call up to under 16 Portuguese camp. But that was only because we weren't really having camps ourselves. I'm not really worried about losing him as of right now, and I don't think anybody should be. Very talented. CJ Only, he is my player that could break into the top 10 very soon. He is incredible. All I hear is good things about him daily. He is very, very, very technical. He has good size, good football IQ, has a whole package. And I think he's the heir apparent after Sullivan, who's also right behind him, and Aronson leave. He slots right into that Philly system, which is perfect. Sullivan is extremely talented. He's good size. He's being scouted by a few clubs. And then when you talk about Sullivan, you also mentioned his younger brother, Kavan, he's made mixtapes for, who's also getting scouted heavily. We'll gotta wait a few more years to see with Kavan, but Quinn's here right now, and he's doing a lot of stuff. His first ever goal was an over the head bicycle kick, which is incredible. And the other name on that list was who?
Sealy and McGlynn.
Yeah.
Sealy, obviously.
He's lighting it up in PSV.
He's lighting it up in PSV. His biggest problem is consistency, which is something that can be fixed as you mature and become grown to the game. If he is more consistent, he is my number one winger on this list currently. He's just electric, and there's nothing more to it.
All right. Number 15, Matthew Corcoran, 2006 defensive mid, FC Dallas. 14 is Grayson DeToni, 2005 center back at Bayern Munich. 13 is Alex Key, 2007 striker from Salt Lake. Number 12, Paxton Aronson, 2003 attacking mid from Philly. And number 11, Cade Cowell, 2003 winger from San Jose Earthquakes. Any chance he gives Mexico even a shot?
No, not that. I think he's using that for leverage to get his call
or his agent. Marcus, that's what you were saying, right?
I'm sure his agent or family encourage conflict to get the opportunity. But yeah, if you're on the fence as a coach and you might lose somebody, we've seen it before for the last several years now.
The jumps the loops and hoops he'd have to jump through to get to that Mexican passport would be pretty extreme. So I doubt that. Matthew Corcoran's a very interesting name out of those five. He is currently leaving the FC Dallas Academy. He's probably the most talented six. Right now there's a question of does he want to, is he in the game? Is this what he's about? But he's one of those guys that I mentioned earlier. I think he could definitely go the USL route. I would love to see Matthew Corcoran at Louisville City FC. That would be
said he's amazing. Leaving FC Dallas?
Yes, announced. He is gone. He left FC Dallas.
Did he say
after,
why?
We don't know personally, but a lot of if I'm going to be honest, FC Dallas's youth system is currently falling apart at the seams, which is really sad because it was the first great one in my opinion. With Corcoran, he's leaving, and there's a few clubs on the table. I don't know them in particular, but I definitely think he's one that could take that USL route. Paxton Aronson's a name. He's Brendan Aronson's younger brother, and he was my personal standout player of Revelations Cup. Every time he got on the ball, it was just magic. He's pretty much a pure 10. I feel like he's one of the most pure 10 players in the pool currently. In my opinion, I'm going to sound crazy for this. I think he has a higher ceiling than Brendan Aronson. So there's that.
Exciting. And Cade Cowell, am I remembering right? Wasn't he invited to a camp potential for Areola replacement? And then they deemed Areola was not unfit enough to swap.
Gold Cup, right. So he trained. There was just enough time for them to take a picture of him, and then they're like, no, you can't be on the roster.
Yeah, I don't think CONCACAF released Areola to be replaced or something like that. Yeah. All right, we're getting to the top 10. Number 10, Christian McFarland, 2007, left back for NYCFC. Reed Baker Whiting, 2005, center mid, Seattle Sounders. Kevin Paredes, 2003, left back for DC United. Justin Che, 2003, center back from FC Dallas. and then Axel Perez, a 2007 attacking mid, and unknown club currently. Is that true, Gideon?
As much as I can say, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of familiar names on this list, man. Give us a shout, especially RBW. I watched that game when Seattle played. I think it was like 16-year-olds were on the field. And I think they won 1-0. Yeah.
As my guys on First Touch know, RBW is my favorite prospect currently. He offers a lot at the center mid position, in my opinion. He's been linked to Liverpool and Dortmund already. He can't go there for another 2 years. He's not a dual net. We don't need to worry about losing him at all, which is awesome. It would have been great to get him over there earlier, of course, but no pain in not having that happen. But defensively, he's sound at center mid, and offensively has the game to progress the ball and give the final pass. So that's all you want out of center mid, obviously. Some other names: Kevin Paredes. Currently, he's playing for left wing back at DC United. He's going to Europe probably this January. He's been linked to Salzburg already. I don't know if that's the move. It could be, but he's an electric player. I think long term he will be a left back for the USMNT and in his pro career. And I think a lot of clubs are trying to find in Europe the next who's going to be the next Davies, and a lot of clubs are looking at him to be that. No expectations of that. If he's 40%, 50% of what Davies is, that'd be a hit in my opinion. That'd be a star. But he's on the gerbil. He's incredible. If you've ever watched him, which I hope at this point a lot of people have.
Yeah, and he and Che are in camp right now, so hopefully we'll get a shot at seeing him.
Che is another one. Che is also doing that. I don't really feel losing him. We'll see though. Bayern Munich won him apparently still. He's very talented, ball playing abilities out of this world. He's developing physically. He's bigger, stronger. So there's that. And very talented. We'll see. I think if he goes to Bayern, he'll get loaned out immediately. Maybe even potentially back to FC Dallas. Yet to be known. And remind me, Bayern Munich, I forgot to mention Datoni, who's also on this list, who's an 05 center back. Very talented. I don't know too much about him, but I hear a lot of good things. And I've been told that he's a very talented player.
One last thing before we move on to the top five. Axel Perez, tell us a little more about him. What club was he with previously? And
yeah,
what's going
of course.
on?
So Perez, he was with Inter Miami. I don't know a lot of the details of why he's not, I don't think he's there anymore. But he's a cam, and he's really good, technical on the ball, technical abilities out of this world. He is a dual net. I'm fairly certain he has the ability to play with. It's either France or Spain. I don't know which one. I don't remember off the top of my head. And he's definitely a player that I think if what he is doing and how he's playing continues and he translates, he definitely has the opportunity to play for those clubs. That's how good he is. He's a very, very, very talented player, and I think he's definitely even a player that would consider playing for if it's Spain or France, I can't remember, over us. So that's one to watch.
All right, and the top five. Number 5, Adrian Gill, 2006 center mid from Barcelona. Number 4, Jonathan Gomez, 2003 left back of Louisville City, soon to be Real Sociedad. Sociedad, right?
Yep.
3, Caden Clark, 2003 attacking mid from Red Bull Leipzig. He's also making a move soon. And number 2, Malik Sonogo, 2004 striker from Union Berlin, another dual nat there. And number 1, like we said previously, Ricardo Pepi, 2003 striker from FC Dallas.
Do we call him a former dual net?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Extremely talented group there. Caden Clark's about to make a move. I'm hearing that he will have 2 weeks. If Leipzig want to keep him, they'll keep him. But he already has loan offers on the table. Some in the Premier League, some in the Dutch league, and I'm fairly certain Salzburg also has an offer on the table, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. Yeah.
He is He's electric. I think him and Reyna are going to be competing for the next 10 years. I don't necessarily think he's as good as Reyna. That's subjective, of course. But they're definitely, I think, players of the same sort. I will say Cannon Clark is much better defensively. He's a high press. He goes. He's some of the best defensive stats for even center mids in the MLS. So as a cam and as a center mid, he's very, very solid defensively. And his eye for ball, his passing, his shot selection is very good. I mean, he had a slow season, second half of the season. I mainly blame that on his surgery that he had to get, and then also just what was going on with New York trying to make the playoffs and stuff like that, and how they were playing. But obviously, keep an eye on him. Jonathan Gomez, of course, making the jump to Real Sociedad. Very exciting player. Doing that, we need to get him, in my opinion. Very talented. Attacking-wise, he's an amazing left back. There's questions to be asked about, like, well, the level of USL. But in my opinion, he's proven on just how much he's dominated that it doesn't really matter. Even if he's like, he wouldn't be putting up the same numbers in MLS, he'd still be getting the same hype, in my opinion, because he's just that talented. Malik Sanogo, also doing that, can play for Germany. We saw our first glimpse of him in this camp. A big, strong guy. He's practicing with the first team of Union Berlin every day, playing with their U19s, and he was very good. He was the second-rated striker in the entirety of the U19s last year, only behind Yusufa Makoko, who's a generational prospect. So,
who out of so okay. Obviously, I think everyone would agree at this point that Ricardo Pepi will be on the World Cup roster come 11 months from now. Are there any other players on this list that could have the potential to also make that World Cup roster?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's three main guys. And past that, I don't really see it. Those three main guys are Caden Clark, Kevin Paredes, and Jonathan Gomez. And when you look at the positional needs that we have, I think those are the only three that can make it. Caden Clark isn't really a positional need, but he's that talented. And if he truly breaks through at any of the clubs or at Leipzig, I think he really will be fighting for that. I think Kevin Paredes and Jogo, they fill a need. Left backs, arguably our weakest position on the field, and both of them can play it. Jonathan Gomez is potentially going to be doing it in La Liga. And we've already called up players like Shaq Morta, who's playing in the Segunda very sparsely. And I think Jonathan Gomez will be playing a lot of minutes there. So I don't feel like there's much of an excuse especially when you look at the rest of our pool. And then also, if you want a random name that could maybe make it, if injury disasters happen with our center backs, Justin Che's a name, but I don't see it happening. I think there's other names that could fill that spot before he was to be called in.
Is he the best ball playing center back out of this list?
I think there's an argument to be made.
If we were just looking at that skill for center backs,
I feel like there's an argument to be made there, right? But you also have to, I think that's a skill that a lot of our center backs out of this group are pretty solid on. Jalen Neal's a good ball playing center back. Kobe Henry's is a pretty decent ball playing center back, and so on. So I would say Che is currently the best, yes, but sort of has to work a bit on decision making as to all of them.
Top 10 aside, what's a name who could break out in Europe in the way that some of these guys have like come out of nowhere, and just played well and just popped up on radars? I think, Hoppy's one of them that people weren't aware of, like how good he could potentially be. And then he just boom, pops on the radar with a hat trick. Like, what was a guy that could pop up in Europe and surprise some people outside of the top 10?
Outside of the top 10, I feel like the majority of these guys could do that. I think they're all extremely talented. My main guy that I'd say could do that's older on the other side is definitely Luna. I feel like Luna's shown that. Brian Gutierrez is also a very exciting name. The Leal brothers, who weren't even on this list, could potentially break through with Venezia. They're already over in Europe. So lots of names. Very exciting time.
for sure.
Let's talk goalkeepers for a moment. So they were excluded purposefully in this case. So give us, just in the age group, I guess, give us 3, 4, 5 guys that would be at the top of their age group.
For sure. We intentionally excluded goalkeepers because they're not really comparable to other players, in my opinion, especially at this young age. They are their own thing, and rating them versus rating other players is I don't think really fair. So our goalkeepers that 03 and below, of course, you have Gaga Slonini, who's just called in.
Right.
He's also doing that Poland. Alex Porto, who's at Fulham. He's also doing that with Poland, which is funny, in my opinion. He is those two guys, and then you have
passed up Damian Loss, right?
Damian
is still
Loss,
there.
yeah. Damian Loss is still there, and he's extremely talented. Right now, Bordeaux is their third keeper at Fulham, though, and he's the starter for the under 23s. Another name would be Chris Brady, the other Chicago Fire guy, who's I'm fairly certain he's an 03, maybe 04, I somewhere around there. Chris Brady is extremely talented. There's some people who still think he's better than Gaga Slonina, even though Gaga is starting.
Brady's 04.
Brady's 04. Okay. Another name to look at, and when you're talking about goalkeepers, is Julian Eyestone. Eyestone is younger. I'm fairly certain he's an 07. He's in the FC Dallas Academy. He's incredible. Like really, really good. Julian Eyestone technically, physically, he has all the gifts. He's like 6'5" at 15. He's crazy. He's already running faster than the majority of pro goalkeepers. When his team is down a striker, he starts at striker. That's how technically gifted he is.
Wow.
He's very insane. Of course, you have Emi Ochoa. Emi Ochoa is with San Jose. He's also doing that with Mexico. Extremely talented. It'd suck to lose 2 Ochoas to Mexico. I will say that. Yeah. Especially since they play the.
I didn't know there was another one coming.
Yeah. And then another goalkeeper to be on the lookout would be so many. There's so many. I mean, going even up in age group in 02 would be Chitarua Dunze, who's with Leicester.
Right.
Yeah.
6'7". He's already been called into a few camps. So that is something to be on the lookout for. There's a lot of young goalkeepers coming up, tons that I didn't even name. So
you mentioned FC Dallas Academy kind of struggling lately. You're not the first one that I've been hearing rumblings of. Houston has historically been pretty awful, but Texas is such a soccer rich state.
Yeah.
What does the future of that look like? You think it's an opportunity for Austin? You think FC Dallas turns it back around, or any thoughts that way?
I think it's an opportunity for every team in the South, USL included. I don't necessarily think that Dallas is done producing high-level talent. They have their name. They have their brand already established. They have pathways already set up with Munich and PSV and Austria. It's just that everybody now is in the youth game. Everybody wants the youth players. FC Dallas started a movement, and now the effects of that movement are coming to fruition. I feel like with Luchi Gonzalez leaving the club entirely, that's also a guy who set up a lot of their youth stuff. That also has negative effects. You're seeing Houston Dynamo and Austin already heavily recruiting. And then with the likes of Inter Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, Nashville, and even USL clubs like Memphis 901, San Jose, El Paso, just to name a few.
Orange County's been coming on. Yeah.
Orange County, you're going to see a lot of the talent. Charlotte's now coming into the league. So you're going to see a lot of the talent more spread out, in my opinion. You're going to see more clubs with their guy, I'd say. And so I don't think Dallas is done. It's just going through a rough period right now. especially with their biggest prospect leaving. So we'll see. I'm still excited for what they have to offer. U.S. soccer. I definitely would rank Philadelphia number one right now, and I think the player rankings themselves show that it's the level of talent that they have coming through.
It feels like an assembly line. I mean, just like attacking mid. I mean, we're like 4 deep in the top 2025. I mean, there's just so much talent there. It's incredible, all the way down to the 9-year-olds. I've watched 9-year-old videos on Twitter. I mean, it's talented.
Yeah, it's very exciting times. I mean, you have players who already have. I think it was an out. Like Kevon Sullivan has like 45 minutes of total play time of game footage at the age of 12. He's trialing over in Europe with Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid, and Dortmund and Barcelona are fighting over him. It's insane. It's exciting. Another name that I forgot to mention earlier that's on the list, Axel Kai, 13, making his USL debut.
He made his USL debut at 13.
He's huge.
Yeah, I want you to look up a picture of Axel Kai.
Wow.
A lot of people say he looks more like he's 21, but if he is truly 13, which I'm hoping.
There's some Freddie questions around the validity of his age, but
I mean, I've seen pictures of him a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he looks like he's 11 there. So
yeah,
I mean,
just a big growth spurt.
Maybe he's just a big growth spurt. If he can develop, I think he's an amazing striker prospect for the U.S. Lukaku-esque. Have you seen the Lukaku pictures of when he was a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, he looks like a grown man next to 12-year-olds. It's insane. His mother brought his birth certificate to games just to prove that he was the age he said he was.
I love Patrick Weah sent me a picture of him and Caden when they were kids, and Caden's at the other end of the scale, just small, he's just little. It was hilarious seeing those two on the same team together.
Yeah, for sure. It's just you see that all over the place, but like exciting time to be alive with the younger guys coming through. I think you see 04s, 05s start to get more minutes next season in MLS. Some of the names that are already over in Europe could be potentially breaking through. A name to look out on that wasn't on this list, but I mean, of course, name attachment massive is Joel McElrena. A lot of he's in Austin now, and I'm excited about him, seeing what he does in the academies over there. If maybe he can rebound after a rough few years. Still in my opinion, pretty talented. But it's just keep on coming. This list grows and becomes harder to make every single day, in my opinion. The more times we discover new names.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty great. That was a lot. Wow. What else do we have to add to it?
I think I'm good, man. Gideon, I think you got everybody fired up. I know everybody's gonna be hitting Google hard.
I'm still looking at this Axel Key guy. Like he does look like an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the most highlight reel name in this top 20? Like, who should people Google and be wowed by, like, with their skills? Not obviously like center backs aren't going to be like amazing typically, but who's a highlight reel name on this list that people would surprise some people that's worth Googling?
Well, Paxton Aaronson's a highlight reel in my opinion. I don't think that surprises anybody. He's been in the media for a bit now. Another player that is, in my opinion, a walking highlight reel is, of course, Kai, what you've seen him do at MLS Knicks, but you also have Darboe. Olney and Darboe of the Philly Boys, the 06 Philly Boys, are also incredible. I encourage everybody to go look up footage from Diego Luna at his time for FC Locomotive. His ability on the ball, his vision, it's there. He had 30 appearances at the age of 17, 18 for a top 3 team in the league. So, and now it looks like he's going to Europe. So, and exciting times. Some lower guys on the list that we had on the list that I encourage you guys to go look up film would be like players like the Leo brothers, who weren't even on it, but very talented. Brandon Craig, center back. Then you have players like Avare and Rotundo, who are mid-list, who are already over in Europe. If you can find footage of them, do so. It's quite entertaining.
Cool. Well, thanks guys. Yeah. For being on and getting together, Gideon, great stuff. And, maybe we'll shoot to, do another spring edition, and keep this rolling. And, Gideon's
Hopefully, yeah.
list. Yeah. Gideon's list is up on chasingacup.com, of course. And, give him a follow, give him a shout, and, check him out and, check out the list. Let us know what you think.
Thanks, Gideon. Good job, Marcus.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Later.